Well, hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. This is episode 10. Man, we made it 10 deep.
10,
10 deep.
10 deep, bro. We are on a tear. We're on a tear.
That's right.
I don't know if it's 10 great episodes.
You
I
know what?
feel like it is.
10
I mean,
episodes.
I'm proud of what we've put out at this point.
That's right. Me too. Me too.
Yeah, man.
We made it happen. Yeah. So,
We
welcome
did.
to the Unmasked podcast. I am, as always, one of your hosts, Spencer. I feel like I haven't done that in a while.
You haven't. But
Alongside
it's
of,
good to let to know the people who we are.
that's right, aside of my co host, Andy Driscoll.
What's up, everybody? We're
Welcome.
back. We're here.
So, no Bengals game yesterday.
No Bengals game. So
The week
I
off.
got nothing to talk about.
Nope. So, I guess that's.
And Louisville football was on a bye week also. Like, so I've been like itching and like I'm not knowing what to do with myself.
Well, I guess
No football.
that then concludes episode 10 of the Unmasked podcast, and we will see you next week.
It's good to see everybody. Make sure you like, subscribe. I know this was a content heavy episode. No, I'm just kidding. I know, man. It's like no Bengals talk. It's like, but we worked it in this way. So
we did.
but yeah, man. Did FC Cincinnati have a big game
Yeah,
Saturday?
so last game of the season, last regular season game.
Regular season, yeah.
Uh,
Look at me knowing soccer. Look at that.
let's
Did you
go,
see that?
bro.
Did
I
you see
saw
that?
it. I
I
saw it.
watched the David Beckham documentary, so I'm like,
Did you?
it was sick.
It was good, right?
So good.
I mean, you don't. I feel like you don't
You've
have.
never steered me wrong. So like, I mean, it was on point.
I feel like you don't have to be a huge soccer fan to appreciate it.
No, but it made me like feel like I needed a team and I need to dive in. So we'll see what happens.
All right.
So
Yeah,
we'll see.
I really enjoyed it. My wife and I
Maybe
both
next year.
really enjoyed it. But yeah, no, the
So
FCC had a big game, last game of the season, played Atlanta. So it was a frustrating game because we went down, or they went down to 10 men. So we were playing up a man for basically the whole second half. And we just walked away with a 2-2 tie. So that was a little frustrating.
yeah, I don't know what any of that means, but
So basically, one of the players on the other team got kicked out, got kicked off. It got a red card. And
right. Okay, I know that. Yeah.
you can't replace them. You can't replace
So
them.
if somebody gets a red card and gets kicked out, then you just play a man down.
Correct.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay. I see what we're doing here.
yeah. So and it was the best player on the other team that got the red card. And
Oh wow.
we still couldn't pull out a dub, which is frustrating because like going into the playoffs, like this was the last regular season game, and I feel like you need some momentum at home going into the playoffs with like a
Yeah.
like
But
I don't know.
but I don't mean to interrupt, but like at the same time, if you're going to catch a loss, let it be then.
Yeah, I mean, and
And
we didn't
let
lose either. We tied, so
yeah, but I mean,
yes,
a tie's a loss in my book. I mean, I'm not even a fan of being able to tie in anything. Like they should just go straight to penalty kicks, even in regular season. I don't care. Like let's get this thing finished. Let's have a winner. Um, but I mean, but man, let that put a chip on their shoulder and go into the playoffs
sure.
like ready to go on a tear.
For
Know
sure.
some things they need to work on and get at it.
That's right. No, I don't. I mean,
So,
yeah, I don't disagree with you. So we'll see what happens.
well, so you need to keep me updated on playoffs when they are, and if there's any way I can watch it. That I tried to see Saturday if there was. I didn't see it on TV for us, so I don't know.
All MLS games are on Apple TV.
Okay, I got Apple TV, so let's roll. Okay, so let me know when playoff games are, and I'll have to check it out and root on FC Cincinnati.
That's right. Sounds good.
So, that's my MLS team. There you go.
There you go. It better be. You
Right?
know, get your Bengals.
I mean, we don't have one, so
No. Yeah. I like it. I like it.
I'll embrace it. It's my squad.
So hey, last week you referenced some change in your life. And,
I did.
And then decided to just move right on by. And I wanted to slow it down this morning and
Yeah.
give you an opportunity to vent a little bit. Not vent,
Yeah.
but like
Elaborate.
Elaborate, yeah.
Elaborate. Share with our friends and family at the Unmasked podcast.
Okay.
Yeah. I couldn't really say much because I everything wasn't out there publicly yet. But I'll be brief, and the reason I'm going to be brief is one is because I don't want to just go on and on about it because I could. Two,
You can go read the article on TMZ yourself.
yes, it's that big of a deal. No, it is not that big of a deal. But we are on a time crunch today a little bit. You're going to get another quick hitter episode because we are too broke to afford an official Zoom account. And so sometimes we're able to utilize one. Sometimes we have to use the free version. So if you want more long form, support us. You can send us, some finances to help support the Unmasked podcast so that we don't have to be so brief when we have 40 minutes because of the free Zoom. Support the Unmasked podcast. I would give you a way to do that, but we don't have anything set up. So
nope.
That's not a good. Anyways, so for me personally, so some people know, some people don't. Some people that are listening probably do because I've announced it at the church, and then I've actually announced it on our church's social media as well as my personal. But I'll take it back. So I worked at a psychiatric residential facility here in Louisville for about 12 and a half years. And probably 9.5 of those years, I served as the director of the PRTF programs, which stands for Psychiatric Residential Treatment Facility. And I left there back in, it was 2018. So 5 years ago to this month to do the church full time. I was doing both forever. I mean, I've been at Life Point for 16 years.
Yeah.
So on staff. So, but for 3 years, 3 years, I was the lead pastor of Life Point and full time over at the psychiatric facility where I was at, the residential facility for kids, and on call 24/7, working probably 60 plus hours a week. So it was wild. So, but about, I guess, 2 or 3 months ago, my old company reached out to me and asked me what my interest level was in coming back. I immediately told them 0, like right off the rip, just because I'm super happy with where I'm at. But the more we got to talking is they weren't wanting me to come back to my old role, my previous role, but they were wanting me to come back in a higher role. So basically, I walked that journey, and because I felt after talking with my wife, some of my mentors and friends, such as the good old Spencer, Robinette, and just felt like it was an opportunity that God may be placing before me, and I didn't want to close that door. Didn't seem right to close that door. So I just walked the journey. So I went through the process, had all the conversations, applied, interviewed, and maybe a week and a half after I interviewed, they called me and offered me the position. And so I officially accepted that position. I guess it's been about a week and a half now. So, well, almost 2 weeks. I think it'll be 2 weeks tomorrow. So, but yeah, so I'm going to be the chief operating officer. So one step below the CEO of the company. And so it's a pretty big deal, and it's a pretty big role, major transition in my life, one that I wasn't looking for, one that I wasn't, kind of planning for. So like right now, my mind is kind of all over the place because I'm, trying to shift gears into kind of moving back into that world and the knowledge base and the skill set that I had, that I'd built over 12 and a half years that I've not flexed or utilized in 5 years. So just trying to get my headspace back into that while at the same time looking out for Life Point Church where I'm currently at.
Yeah.
And so the update with that is that I'm not leaving the church. I'm really just going back bivocational.
Yeah.
So that's what I've done. Like I said,
are doing today.
I mean, for real. I mean, it's for 16 years I've been at Life Point. Only 5 of those years was I full time.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, that it's been a blessing. It's been amazing. And but it, I truly feel like, I mean, and all signs are showing that God has opened this door. Just about 3 days before they offered it to me, like I was praying and I asked God, I'm like, if this is not the right move, like slam this door shut, like make it clearly known that that's not where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
And instead, I feel like he swung the door open even wider.
Yeah.
In the sense that, I I had some things that, are challenges in me going back into that arena to continue to live the life that I want to live, to be there for my wife and my kids and for my church. And, I have a lot of responsibilities with the church that I'll still have to do as we kind of begin the process of looking for another pastor to co-lead with me or take on lead and me, assist.
Right.
We're open to whatever God wants to do with that. But I have a lot of things that I've got to get done and do in that process. And they wanted me to come like really quick.
Yeah.
So I'm actually starting 2 weeks from today, the time that we record. So November 5th is my official start day. So November 6th will be my first day in office. So,
Man.
but yeah, everything I've asked, they've bent over backwards to bring me in. So yeah, major change. And
Awesome,
I'm
dude.
super excited about it. Nervous, it's change, like we talked about a couple episodes ago, is always tough.
Yeah.
It's never easy. And it's going to be an adjustment for me, for my family,
Yeah.
and for the church, for this podcast. Like I said, we're going to have to start figuring out a new time to record in the evenings because my schedule's a little less flexible. So,
Either that or 4 a.m.
yeah, I mean,
Get up extra early.
that's when I write all my messages anyway. So,
I think
but
the wisdom here, bro, is, and yeah, first of all,
I know I
congrats.
rambled a little bit.
No,
So
no,
thank
it's
you. Thank
good.
you.
Congrats. I'm super proud of you and happy for
Appreciate
you.
it.
But the wisdom is like, when I've always tried to counsel, and it's the way my wife and I've tried to live our life is when it seems like God's opening a door, if you are like in tune with the spirit and you are trying your best to walk in step with what God has for you, then you got to walk through the door until he
Yeah.
closes it or turns you another direction. And I feel like that was your thing this whole time, was like, I'm just going to keep walking through the door. It feels like he's opening until he closes it or, makes it abundantly clear that this is what it is. And that's what he did for you. And
Yeah.
so hopefully, though, yeah, change is difficult, you can find some peace and affirmation in that
Yeah.
process.
And I think that's, like I said, I talked to several people. You were one of those, and that was your counsel, and encouragement to me from the jump. And what's interesting is everyone I spoke to was kind of, saying a similar thing. And I think when there is agreement amongst other people who are that care about you, right? That are looking out for your best interest.
Yeah.
Also people that I know to be believers.
Yeah.
And when I talk to 5 or 6 people that are close in my circle that are believers that I trust my life to.
Yeah.
And every single one of them, just in kind of different ways in the way they're wired, pretty much said the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And that was the ssame thing that I was getting from God. And what people don't, some people know this about me, some people don't. I've probably talked about it in the past 9 episodes, but man, I am a crazy perfectionist. Like I'm a planner. I know that sounds really weird because like I'm interesting in that way. Like I don't always plan everything out detailed, but I have plans in my head and I have contingency plans and then contingency plans for those contingency plans because I want to try to make sure that whatever I do is perfect,
Yeah.
is correct. And then making big decisions, huge life decisions, I don't take those things lightly because I want to truly be in step with what God wants for my life.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe we'll just talk kind of about this, not just about me, but just this journey, like, and people walking this journey, because I think it's so important, especially those that maybe grew up in a very I'm trying to say this nicely, but a religiously abusive environment.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of shame and blame, a lot of guilt. That's what I grew up in.
Yeah.
And while today, as 40-year-old Andy, who's been a pastor, a lead pastor for 8 years, on staff at a church for 16 plus years, I've learned a lot. I've grown a lot.
Yeah.
But there are these moments in my life when I have to make big decisions or things are happening around me that I know who God is.
Right.
I know from scripture who he is and how much he loves me.
Yeah.
Yet I am naturally, because of what I grew up in, like I'm triggered by these thoughts of an unloving, vengeful, hateful God
Yeah.
that I grew up with.
Yeah.
So in looking to make this decision or a decision like this, typically I'm not really thinking of how what is God trying to do with this? And where can I learn? Where can I grow? What areas is he trying to bless me? My mind immediately goes to, if I make the wrong decision, God's going to punish me.
Wow.
And I mean, that's the immediate thought. And I wish it wasn't, but
Yeah.
that's what I grew up in. The formative years of my life, that's what I was taught.
Yeah.
And not like here and there, but like aggressively every day. Like, if you don't do God's will for your life, he will punish you
Right.
and your life will be hell.
Yeah.
Um, so much so that, like, I remember, I think my freshman year in Bible class, because I went to a Christian school, and I remember my basketball coach, our athletic director, a guy that had been there forever. He actually coached my dad, who went to school there when he was in high school. So, I mean, a legend at the school.
Yeah.
And he's teaching us, and he tells us this story. And I don't think I've shared this on here before, but he told us the story of a kid that was sitting in the class. He's sitting in the same seat you all were in, and he was in chapel service one Friday, and God called him to full-time Christian ministry. And he walked forward during that chapel service and surrendered his life to full-time Christian ministry. And then, fast forward a couple years, he goes off to college, decides that he wants to be an attorney, goes through school, becomes this super successful attorney, and then boom, at 35, dies of a massive heart attack, all because he didn't do God's will for his life. Like, that's what I was taught.
Wow.
And so I
I mean,
always have this like heaviness,
yeah.
like at all time. And God has been healing and breaking those chains of that false teaching. But it's moments like this that starts to trigger that.
Yeah.
But I say all that. I know you're going to say, I say all that because this situation has been different for me.
Hmm.
While those things have crept in a little bit, God has given me incredible peace that he was going to guide me in whatever direction I was supposed to go, that he was going to open the doors. He was going to close doors. He was going to point me in the right direction. And all I needed to do was just keep my eyes fixed on him and follow where he was leading me.
Yeah.
And, my wife at one point, she's like, please don't take this the wrong way, but like, I feel like you're not taking this like super serious. Like, she was more concerned because it was out of step in character for me. Like, I was just like, she's like, if you don't get it, like, I don't want you to be disappointed. I'm like, well, I mean, there'll be a piece of me that is, but if I don't get it, then that's confirmation that
Yep.
I wasn't supposed to go that route and that I'm supposed to stay full time at Life Point and I'm going to grind as hard as ever.
Yeah.
And if I get it, then God is leading me in a different direction. And I just had this crazy piece about it, which allows me to know it was God.
Right.
Because normally I would be like over in the corner, like,
Yeah.
rocking back and forth like a crazy man. Like,
Yeah.
so.
Dude, I wonder. I mean, you're not wrong. Sadly, there are a lot of people that have that belief, that fear-based belief in God. That's just not true.
Yeah.
Would you say, like, as you've been able to, as God's been like reconciling some of those false teachings from your youth over the years, would you say that you've been able to almost separate that false teaching and the potential or the assumed realities of that false teaching? If I did this, God's going to punish me in this way, from almost like actually looking at the faithfulness of God or the actions of God in your life and recognizing that those two things don't line up? Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
No, yeah, I think I pick up what you're putting down there. And yes, absolutely. I think part of my journey has been being able to surround myself with people, some that have experience and went through the same kind of religious system that I grew up in.
Yeah.
And us being able to have conversations, having conversations with people that were still pastors that were further on down the road, and could help me walk through those.
Right.
But um yeah, I'm at a point now, obviously, where again, where I know what truth is, and I know that what I was taught was not.
Mm.
Like I was taught to fear God in an unhealthy way.
Right.
Scripture tells us a lot to fear God,
Right.
but that is a healthy respect and awe,
Yeah.
not of I have to walk on eggshells because if I step out of line just a little bit, God's ready to just to smite me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think about like Bruce Almighty, when he talks about like, God being this angry bully with a magnifying glass, trying to burn off like on an anthill, burning off people's feelers.
Right.
I mean, I felt that way.
Mm.
But again, that's what was constantly taught to me. It was taught to me. And I hate to like there were good people in my
Yeah.
life when I grew up at that school, that
For sure.
teachers and pastors and I think I don't think they were trying to teach people wrong maliciously,
Yeah.
but it was damaging.
Yeah.
You as a senior in high school, sports was my everything, breaking my leg and almost losing my leg after being out of football season the year before with an ACL injury. Grabbing my face mask with my leg literally below my knee going 3 different ways. Like it was gross. And I'm saying, why? And my Bible teacher and coach leaning over me saying, son, don't question God. Don't ask God why. And it's like, that is the absolute worst advice ever. One, for that moment.
Absolutely.
Two, because it's wrong.
Yeah.
It's 110% wrong.
Yeah.
And I know that now. And honestly, as hard as this is to say, because like part of me says, man, I wish I never grew up in that environment and that I had a healthy upbringing of what a true relationship with Jesus really looks like, and not one out of trying to perform for God's love, but not even performing, but living because of his love.
Right. Right.
At the same time, man, like it's shaped and made me who I am today
Mm.
as a pastor and as a leader. And I have I believe truly the privilege to help lead people who experience those things. Or maybe that's the reason that they kind of keep God at arm's length, because they view him as that. Like it is truly my passion in ministry and in my life to help show people that's not who God is.
Right.
This is who God is.
Right. And
And
I love that. I love that for you. And you do that so well. I think for me, the struggle. So I I didn't grow up that way. I grew up with probably a slightly more balanced, healthier, balanced view of God, but I also have experienced it enough to know, to at least be able to identify what you're talking about,
yeah,
at a deep level. For me, I asked the question that I did, whether it made sense or not, because for me, what I feel like I've learned is like people that have that view, that fear-based performance view of God, are taught it at a young age, and because of that perspective of God, never actually engage God on a relational level themselves, because
yeah,
they want to keep him at arm's length, because
yeah,
they don't want to. And so the flip side of that is like the truth comes from the fact that when you actually engage God at a relational level, at the level he desires, you recognize that, I mean, he literally defines love. Like he is
He
The
is.
scripture
It's who
says
he
God
is.
is love. Like he is
Yeah.
the definition of love. He's the definition of mercy and grace and forgiveness. And you recognize that, like, when you engage him on that relational level, um, he then confirms all of those things in you. Like he
Yeah.
he 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 loves on you at a level you've never been loved on before. He gives you grace, uh in places and spaces where the humanity in your life doesn't give you grace. And it's like it's the polar opposite of the
Right.
way you were grown up. But it's because, and I love that sort of that imagery of, like, people just that grow up with that fear-based view of God, they keep him at arm's length because they don't really
Yeah.
want, because they don't know the relational side
Right.
that
Well,
is the opposite. And it's
and
just
that's what,
sad.
yeah. And I say it all the time too, man. It's like people that are, I think we've identified as and called the de-churched, right? People that have
Yeah.
had experiences within the church and now profess to not be believers and don't attend church.
Yeah.
And, like when I look at those people, I'm like, dude, I get it.
Hmm.
Like what you experienced and what you went through, I get it.
Yeah.
But it's not God that you're mad at. It's not God that you're running from. You're running from a flawed, false view of God
That's right.
that fallen man has created
Yeah.
and pushed. And it's simply just not who he is.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, I'm so passionate of trying to help people to see that and experience that.
Yeah.
I mean, I still, to this day, like, I mean, I could sit here and ask questions, all kinds of questions, like why, when sports was my life, did, I lived a good life. I never got into any trouble. I never did drugs, wasn't drinking, wasn't sleeping around, wasn't doing any of that stuff in high school. I was focused on schoolwork and trying to be the best
Yeah.
Christian that I could be. And then, why me? Why did I go through those injuries and the things that I
Right.
was passionate about? And I could ask those questions all day long. But at the end of the day, again, they formed who I am today. And
Yeah.
so I can look back and say, God knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's all of those things have built my character. But at that point in time, when I looked back and said, why? I'm like, well, the only thing I can think of is because on the way to that football game in Caverna, Kentucky, I was listening to, I'm going to age myself, but the WWE soundtrack, the Degeneration X, soundtrack where there was cussing. And I was trying to get hype, for the game. And all I could think about was, well, I was listening to music that wasn't Christian and had profanity in it. So maybe God was punishing me.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's how, like, deep and dark that was rooted in me.
Wow.
And it's just insane. Like, I hate that for, 16, 17-year-old Andy, because it was miserable. But it's given me a passion to help show people who God is.
Yeah.
Because I fall more and more in love with God the more I continue to dig into scripture, and I see these instances where he loves me in
Yeah.
spite of who I am, in spite of my flaws and my failures and my imperfections and my screw ups.
Yeah.
And which then makes me want to serve him more.
Right.
So as opposed to where I was in the past and where a lot of people were in that movement, where they were performing all these religious tasks, reading the Bible, praying, giving, serving, all these different things, they weren't necessarily doing it out of a love for God.
Yeah.
They were doing it out of obligation and fear that if they didn't, God would punish them.
Yeah. Which is,
but fast forward that to when you truly come face to face with who God is and experience his love and his mercy and grace and can receive that for yourself, then it makes you want to do anything and everything you can to serve and worship him and glorify him and speak his name to anyone and everyone, because not out of obligation and fear, but out of love and reverence and respect and how much he has changed your life.
right.
And so that's what I want.
Yeah.
It's why people in those super conservative religious movements are afraid to preach about grace. They want to preach about sin and hell and all these different things to scare people into doing the right thing. And they're like, oh, you talk about grace too much. And they're worried that if you talk about grace, that it's going to lead people to just be like, just go live
whatever I
out there,
want.
getting it, do whatever the heck you want to do, because God is gracious and he's merciful and he forgives all sins. So if he's gracious, then I can do what I want to do. And
Yeah.
it's like, no, bro, you don't get it, because when you understand grace fully, when you understand that Jesus died for you to take on your guilt, your sin, and your shame so that you could be made right before God, and you didn't deserve that, but he just gives it to you freely
Yeah.
now and forever, no matter what, bro, I want nothing more than to live my life according to what he wants.
Yeah.
I want to serve him and do the very best I can. I
Yeah.
don't want to go out there and do those things that I have freedom to do.
Right.
But I don't, because I want to glorify and honor him because he's done so much for me. And that is the game changer.
That's right.
Off my soapbox. Sorry, y'all.
I love it, bro. No, it's so good.
Don't get me going on that, man. I'll go forever.
I can only imagine, that there are people, that listen to this, that will hear this, that are in the same place, either are currently in the same place that you were, or grew up that way too, and are maybe still struggling. And man, I'm serious. For those of you listening, like, Andy is the guy for this. If you have questions, you want to talk through it.
Send us a direct message.
Yeah,
on Instagram. I'd love to connect. I'd love to hear your stories. What's crazy is I was preaching a series called God Is, where I was talking about all the true attributes and characteristics of who God is, not who we've created him to be, but who he really is.
Yeah.
And I just briefly brought up, talking about, praying and reading your Bible 10 or 15 minutes a day out of obligation, as opposed to wanting to grow in your relationship. And we had 2 visitors there that Sunday, and then like 2 weeks later, and they dipped out pretty quick. He was an older guy. And he sent me this big old long email and was like, hey, you were talking about the school you went to and blah, blah, blah. He said, it wouldn't happen to have been, and then named my high school. And he said, because I went there too and experienced all those things that you experienced. And I held on to that for the longest because my life has not gone the way I had hoped. And we've had a lot of heartache in our life. And I always took that upon myself as it was my fault because I wasn't living right and God was punishing me and my family. And so I was like, well, in fact, it was. So if you want to get together and talk, let's talk. So it's sad, man, but it's a lot out there. So yeah, if anybody wants to chat or have questions, hit me up on that. I'm here for it. If you are a person of prayer and you care, I would welcome any and all prayers and good thoughts or well wishes or whatever you're about, as I start this new journey, I'll take it all so I don't lose my mind. And we'll keep you updated along the way. So
cool. All right, homie,
but I'm not leaving Life Point, and I'm definitely not leaving the Unmasked podcast.
That's right, man. Priorities, bro. Priorities. All right.
So speaking of the Unmasked podcast, we got a few minutes left, so we would do ourselves and you all a disservice if we did not come at you with the Unmasked reaction of the week.
Meow, meow, meow.
All right, let's get into it. So you sent me something.
Yeah, I got you this week. This
and,
one, just a quick setup. This is because it's kind of like, since you can't, or people aren't gonna be able to see it. It's a post game interview, college baseball, University of Virginia pitcher. Go ahead.
Big dude, got some long hair, maybe a mullet. Not long hair, but long enough, a little beard. All right, let's go. Let me get this thing turned up.
Stadium, 8,000 people, they all want you to lose. But as long as you got your 26 guys ready to kick ass or kick butt,
caught him still.
You're going to be all right. I heard a fan offer free Dippin' Dots if I blew it, which the price of Dippin' Dots with inflation is just unreal. So for a brief moment, I was like, damn, Dippin' Dots sound good. But also I thought in the back of my head, we win today, we win tomorrow or tonight. we're going to be here another day. That's more per diem. So that means I can buy my own Dippin' Dots. That'd be a win. I think 3 words every time I'm out there. The first one's a swear word, starts with F. Second word's attack. Third one's win. And I just repeat that to myself. Unless, there's a breach in the system and I walk a guy and I got to tell myself I'm a few different things that isn't a winner.
Does anything make you nervous?
Caves.
Anyway. Okay.
Caves.
So
Does anything make you nervous? Caves.
My first thought in watching that is this guy just got added to my list of people that I want to spend a day with.
Yes.
Because this dude
gosh.
is awesome, dude. What an epic interview.
Such a good interview.
And if you could see, you could check it out. Dude, if you see it, like he kind of looks like half nervous. And you could tell he's worn out from the game. He's kind of talking fast and like fast paced, but dude, epic.
A fan offered me Dippin' Dots to blow it. And I thought about it, but
his internal dialogue, I thought about it because Dippin' Dots are awesome. But if we win,
inflation, they're really expensive right now.
Yeah, they're really expensive. But if we win and then we play again, that's more per diem. So they get paid a food per diem.
Yeah, I got buy my own.
This was before NIL deals.
That's right.
I'm assuming. So he's not, trying to score it on that because now he could just, if he still played, he could just get a sponsorship of Dippin' Dots and he can have all he wants and get paid.
That's right.
But
he better.
But
now
he better like off that. He should gotten at least a year supply of some Dippin' Dots. He should have a deep freezer in his house with the bags of Dippin' Dots.
That's right.
So. With it, yeah, dude, so awesome. Just rationalize, walk through because if we get more per diem, then I can just go buy my own and win. So,
and then he says, and then the guy,
the 3 words,
the interviewer goes,
oh yeah.
So, is there anything that makes you nervous? And he thinks about it. Caves make
caves. Like, in their mind, like, well, what on the mound? That's what they should have clarified. What on the mound makes you nervous? What makes you nervous? Caves. Dude,
dark places.
Dark places. Yeah. This is so awesome. Dude, it reminds me of I know we're running out of time, but there's another video. I'll send it to you. But there's I think it's LSU pitcher. They're interviewing him after the game. Like he normally didn't hit because he was the pitcher, so they had a pinch hitter for him. And something happened, and the game is on the line, and he's like, "Coach, let me hit." And they're like, "Dude, have you ever hit in your life?" He's like, "Dude, in high school, I hit dingers all the time." And the coach is like, "All right." So he gets in there, and dude jacks a home run and wins the game.
Oh my!
And they're interviewing him after the game in front of the coach, like he's right there, and they're like, "So did you ever hit in high school?" He was like, "No, not once." And then he looks over, and he's like, "Sorry, coach, I lied to you." And the coach is like, "What?" He's like, "I wanted to bat." He's like, "I mean, don't get me wrong. In Little League, when I did hit dingers, but they never let me hit in high school." And he's like, "Are you kidding me?" He's like, and then the coach just cracks up laughing. And he was just like, "Sorry, coach." Dude, it's awesome.
That's unbelievable. All right, y'all. Hey, great episode today. Appreciate your I'm choking over here.
I choked you up, man.
I appreciate your vulnerability, your honesty.
Yeah,
today,
man.
Dude.
Yeah,
happy for
you. I appreciate you guys. Yeah, man. Thanks. And yeah, man. God loves you, and know that. And if you need to chat, we're both here for you. Spencer's got a wealth of knowledge for being such a young man.
Young buck over here. Hey, like, guys. Subscribe. Thank you all.
Absolutely. Share it.
Catch you next week.
All right, we'll see you guys. Love y'all.
Bye.